codes for this. Because of how important it is. It's interesting that the French had a way to Yunnan. I didn't know that. The dates are really important too. The railway, Harbin. Yeah. Huh. A lot to figure out here. I think that I don't even know how I'm going to do this, but I want to keep it as reference. We made a this, and I made a hold on. Okay. Let's see here now. With the People's Republic of Mongolia. What was the land that the Japanese wanted to give? Why wouldn't the Soviets just send funds to Chinese communist groups? There is a very good reason for that, actually. It'll be explained why they felt like they had to invade in episode 3. It's kind of a really big it's kind of a really big thing to explain. It even takes up nearly the entire episode. So I guess if you like lore, then you'll enjoy that episode, but I was a little worried about it, to be honest. Okay, so this is the Mangiku. There's actually a lot of reasons. I'm pretty proud of the amount of research that I did to get to that conclusion. And it's going to be a pretty interesting timeline, I think. Although people might not like it, but then again, it's true for anything. And especially when you go into the left side of things, I think people get a lot more frustrated. Okay, let's see. What? Okay, so they like claimed that? Is that what those little dots mean? I guess it makes sense. Might as well add that to the selection then. I believe that the Mongolian People's Republic I don't remember exactly what these contested territories are. And I know that Inner Mongolia actually is majority Chinese, however it is up for debate whether or not that was always the case. Nothing happened in the Tiananmen Square at a certain date. It's gonna get demonetized now, right? You can tell Lord Dad's a bit jaded today. Let's see. Zongguo, that's what China calls itself, right? Chinese people call themselves Zongguo. It took me like a really long time to even learn that. I was surprised it took me so long, because I even knew about Nippon. I knew about Japan, and how like Japan is a misinterpretation of the text that they used to write their messages. So like, you know how basically every Western country uses the Roman alphabet? Not even Western, Germans use it too. Like, a lot of people use the Roman alphabet. Now imagine that China finds Spain. No, that's a bad example. Yeah, no, let's just say Spain. They find Spain, and then Spain uses the, I don't know what letters they'd use for what different pronunciation, but it's the pronunciation of the wording, right? And then China finds like Britain, and they use the letters for completely different reasons, right? I love this music. Any other ideas, questions, thoughts? I wish I had the ability to stream earlier in the day. I did that, but then it like really cut into family time, and I'm not into that. Project Millennium was not a success. Let's just put it that way. I'm gonna have to do some more research about this border, but pretty reasonable to me, in my opinion, that the Mongolians would want to get some land for assistance in their invasion. Yeah. Pretty clear cut to me, I feel. And not that they would set up a Manchurian SR, but it's still important reference to have, especially for these Mongolian borders, right? What time is it when I'm streaming? It's 10:20. It's like 40 minutes, an hour until I have to go to bed. Why the hell is Russia invading China? A question that will be answered in many words and many historical contexts in episode 3 of German October. Unfortunately, cannot say much else. Is this actually... slightly concerned for my well-being, albeit not very much, but still. Now, I want to get people's opinions. I'm probably going to just go with whatever I feel is best anyway. But I think that East Turkestan, if under Soviet occupation, would not be given in its entirety to China. My reasoning is, if there were to be a association appropriate for its cultural backgrounds, it would be better suited for a Central Asian Federative Socialist Republic. Yes, there will be Chinese people living in this area. However, at this point, wasn't it majority Hui? And then it's like, okay, well, like, oh no, well, what would China think? Yes, that's the point. What will China think here? What would happen if they actually didn't respect the territorial integrity of the Chinese nation? Interesting, huh? Don't you like this content? Yeah, there we go. I got one message of approval, which means that my own hand-given answer will be deemed as the only appropriate answer, and I will not take any more feedback at this time. Invade Outer Manchuria. With Japanese tanks? Yeah, maybe. What they're going to do with Outer Manchuria, I don't actually know. Who's to say? I don't know why this ended up being bad. It's because I was doing it on a stream and I had to entertain people. Which I guess is kind of a weird thing to be admitting, leads to map errors during a stream, but hey, here we are. Jaded Lordad. Probably some parts to integrate into the Soviet Union or making a republic or a greater social republic of Turkish peoples. Yeah. There's a guy who Sarah recommended who advocated for that exact thing, a Central Asia, Turkestan away from the imperial core. Yeah, I figured, like, I told people I'd be doing it, and 20 minutes isn't enough, and I like being able to talk about my passions. Lore Mom is supportive, but she doesn't have the same sort of passion for history like I do. We make it work anyway. We've been married for a decent amount of time. It sucks that I can't just like share any information without being scared that someone's going to use it. I will say maybe to those answers, to those questions. I can't say for sure. I'm still trying to figure out a lot of stuff for myself, like what we're actually doing with the whole scenario. It's kind of controversial to say, but it feels like every once in a while there's like an iteration or an adaptation to exactly what the best course of action is, but there is at the very least, a very well established through line for what I am hoping to accomplish with the timeline. So I'm not just doing everything with the seat of my pants. This is unfortunate that all these places, for whatever reason, just are accepting this area. But yeah, yeah, this is what I thought. There's a little bit of Shinkang here. Turkish nationalists in the USSR. I want to try and see if I can quickly find the guy from Sarah's notes. He wouldn't really be a nationalist, but he would be... What is it here? A lot of despairing gifts from him. He was very not pleased with how long it took to make this. Damn. I can't find it. But there was some guy who advocated for a pan-Turkish nation in the USSR, and I don't know, they didn't like how he was kind of spitting bars at the fact that people would just disrespect the cultural regions if they didn't have some sort of means of banding together. So then like, yeah, they just got rid of him, which is basically part of the course, isn't it? I don't know about Turanism, but it could be interesting. Uzbek population seems a major source of tension. I believe so, yes. There would be a lot of tensions that were like put to the wayside or ignored would absolutely be brought up again. Tibet, Manchuria, Xia, Great Yuan, Liao, Tartar Confederation, Kashgar, Dungan Revolt. I think it's these that we want. But is this the same color as this? No. Okay, so we're good. So this is going to be a East Turkestan. Without the Tibet. Definitely without the Tibet. Wow. Let's see here. No, I don't want Britain to be deleted. What? What is going on? Hold on. East Turkestan. Yeah. Okay. Tibetan communism. Well, something I learned is that there was actually an idea by some Soviet generals in order to trigger a revolution in India, invade Tibet. So they would invade Tibet and then spill over into India, where they would arm the proletariats and liberate India. And because India was so important for the British economy, their idea was that it would cause the collapse of the economy of the British and also lead to a communist revolution. So it also plays into the reason, okay, well, why would Trotsky ever go east when he was wanting all the industrial land of the West? China might not be the direct colony of any European power, but a lot of international interests were established in China. So why wouldn't the sorry, hold on. Why wouldn't... I'm sure you guys get what I'm trying to say. There's a precedent in Marxist theory to demonstrate that, there's a historical precedent for an invasion of China to disrupt international capital. British border proposal. What was that? If they go east, Germany will be pissed. Yes, that is That is a matter of fact. They would be pissed. I wonder what would happen if the Germans would get pissed at Trotsky for betraying his promise, industrializing off the back of the German worker, and then sending a bunch of proletarians to die a battle in China. It's pretty obvious to me what will happen, but that's because I already know. I already have an outline of what I want to have happen in my head, so. I think I need to do some voice line recordings because I realized that the stuff I had for this episode was not that long. I don't even know if I need to be making this asset right now. I'm just doing it. It's the kind of nice thing about doing something like this is that you get into the rhythm with it. It's been a while since I've used the lasso tool. Can you believe this? It's like just, I could have just done that with one swipe. Oh, and it's anti-aliased. Ugh. Yeah, thinking emoji. Yes. Turkestan, Unified Soviet Republic of Turkestan, give it formal independence. Viktor Radus Zenkovich. I want to look that up. Viktor Radus Zenkovich. Kazakh autonomous. Okay. Interesting. Never heard of this person before. Their wiki is very small. I'm sure that another language have more detail, so thank you for the heads up about that. Generous proposal made the border between British India and China the Himalayas. What, so like Britain would have annexed all of Tibet? Big if true. Hi, veteran. So I'm not sure if I would actually use this asset yet, but I have it. Palace of the Soviets. I need to look that up. Was a project to construct a political convention center in Moscow on the site of the demolished Cathedral of Christ the Savior. House sessions of the Supreme Soviet. Wow. That's insane. That's so cool. It's like the big building in New Berlin. Right? Oh my lord. That's insane. I had no idea that it existed. That's so cool. What is the lore? The lore is German October, episodes 1 and 2. You can find German October in a very that was the what, why, how video about the Hakim video. I watched a bit of it. It was really good. I really recommend you watch it. Here is the link for... No, that's Discord. This is the link for German October. You can watch episode 1 and 2 there. And this is a sneak peek into what's going to be happening in episode 3. No Kashmir and Ashai. Okay, I'll take a look into that. That's interesting. China is like Africa in the Cold War. The British and Soviets really sending fun of the KMT. Yes. Very true. Some people will be more active participants than others. Okay, well, let's think about this. So I've made an asset for bigger Mongolia, but I'm not sure how much bigger I'd want it to be. I can't just give them all of Outer Mongolia because of problems, but maybe I could. And screw the what everybody else would think. Just based off of vibes, I don't think that the Manchus would be given their own Soviet Republic. I think that it would be, if it existed, it would be an autonomous republic of a Chinese Soviet Federative Socialist Republic. But why not, right? I'll think about it. I'm just thinking to myself right now. I think I need to depict the internal warlords of this whole region. This is the Zhili clique. This is the Fentian clique. And this is a province that even the Republic of China had acknowledged. Yeah, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it now. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Mwahaha. Big Mongolia. Wait, no. Shoot. I don't want all that to be. In fact, I only want one of those sections. Let's go back here. Nope. Nope. Yep. Bloom. I'm giving this Mongolia everything because Genghis would be proud. If the Soviets directly annexed the northern half of Manchuria, the southern half to Chinese Republic, not having a bigger direct border with the Japanese, well, I feel like if the Japanese did, I mean, if the Soviets did anything, the Japanese would respond. It doesn't matter. Like, they were already trying to take Manchuria even before invading it outright. They were influencing the Chinese Republic pre-KMT, like the Beiyang government, to do all this cheeky stuff. Hold on, I just thought of something I need to do. I need to make sure I do this before I forget. I need to make if this and this are being separate from China, and even Tibet, what would this Soviet China look like? And would I even want to show you guys on stream? Yeah, why not? I'm not verifying that it would exist. I mean, aren't I? Whatever. Jaded Lord Dad is here to stay. Illinois' 1 mile tower. I mean, I think there's a timeline where anything can happen, but it probably wouldn't manifest in the exact way that you are describing, which is the exciting and terrifying thing about alternate history. Everything and nothing can actually be depicted the way that you think it could. I think this Mongolia border is really bad. Like, there's something wrong with it. It's definitely not going to be like this. Is this before the military started to disobey the Japanese? This is before. You're talking about how the Japanese staged a border conflict to invade Manchuria, but it was just the Japanese army. I mean, I don't know if the Japanese emperor signed off on the assassination of Zhang Zulin. I think that was his name. I might be confusing him for his son. But they assassinated Zhang Zulin for being incompetent against the KMT invasion. They wanted to get his hedonistic son on the throne. They thought that if he was given a bunch of women, he would just let the Japanese do whatever they wanted. But then he just immediately, when given the opportunity, raised the nationalist flag, started the Nanjing Decade. And then Japan got pissed and then threw a hissy fit and invaded Manchuria. Why did Japan allies of the Soviets and splits China in half and gets free reign in Southeast Asia? I gotta say, that is an approach I did not consider. However, I will tell you, even with the merits, as it currently stands, I'm not going to pursue that idea. It could be interesting for a bonus episode. Like, why not, right? means that LoreBoy is finally asleep again. That's good. No, I want to use... There. Yeah, I think that, and then Tibet claims, but I think this is a reasonable small China. Oh, ouch. Ooh, owie. Owie. Sudden unexplained pain. Don't know why that happened. Don't usually allow for something like that to happen. I don't even know if I'm doing this right. Close enough. Do you think that the rest of China will be divided into several communist states led by either Chinese or Russian leaders of the Central Republic China and smaller ones like Guangxi and Yunnan? I think that a major aspect to why the warlord period was the way it was is the geography of China. You can't really do a warlord period in Germany. I had it happen for like a year in German October, and then it immediately got replaced. Like, we barely even covered it. It's because of the proximity of these places. Like, I don't know enough about Eurasianism, but I did watch this video once that claimed that, at least in the geopolitical sense, Eurasianism refers to this idea that because of the geography of a place, it influences that the way that those people would want to be governed. And I think that when it was being applied to Russian Eurasianists, it was like, we have more in common with the people that we subjugated going so far east than we do with our Western counterparts. Like, they were Slavic, and Poland was Slavic, and all these other places were Slavic, but they just aren't the... What is going on here? Hold on. So it's just this. This is the problem. So what I was saying was that this political theory of Eurasianism implied that basically, if you live somewhere and it's cold, if you live somewhere it's hot, for whatever reason, the material conditions of the place that you're living influences the governmental structures and the politics of your country. China is really big. It has a lot of people living in it. A lot of people. It's not just a homogeneous China of the Han. Like, the Han are the most dominant ethnic group. I believe that is very common to say, but there are very many other groups that were just assimilated into this China, right? The Soviet Union, the Russian Socialist Federative Socialist Republic, had a bunch of other little mini states in it. They all sword fealty to the Russian Federation. So it probably makes sense that these would be the borders, especially with this. I don't know where I'm rambling at this point. Why does Japan get screwed every time, then? Well, the only time I can think of like a really big success for Japan is like when they invaded Korea the first time. Like there's no Admiral Yi that just completely destroys them. Could have springboarded their invasion into China and could have made a Chinese-Japanese dynasty. But then, is it really Japan anymore? Because they'd be... What's the term? They'd be Sinified? Like, the Manchurian people were not very Chinese until they adopted Chinese ways after they conquered them, right? It's really easy to screw over the Japanese. I think they used up all their plot armor when they had 2 Mongolian invasions completely destroyed with convenient what is it? Kamikaze, Divine Wind. 2 different times, 2 different occasions in Japanese history, Mongolians were trying to invade their country, and then all of a sudden they got destroyed by hurricanes. So that's why kamikaze was even a thing. Tokiyomi Hideyoshi taking over China. Yes, I think it's interesting too. Do you think that the Eurasianist movement would have gained more strength after Trotsky's death, with Vladimir Keblinov or Dmitry Mirsky? I don't know enough about these guys to know. But I will say that Trotsky has several times in his, I don't know, the recordings I've heard, talked about a Eurasianist like a Eurasian people's state, and I don't really know if I can really say much more about it. Don't know much more. I don't know that much about Eurasianism. I just remember seeing a like Geopolitics video. I think it was a YouTube channel that only had 1 video. It was pretty well made. I'm surprised they didn't make more stuff. So I don't know much about Eurasianism. I wonder if the Japanese had an earlier colonial period. They went far east before Russians and maybe Alaska. Yeah, I mean, an interesting scenario that does that is Divergences of Darkness. There's even a like dedicated group of modders who are like updating the lore of it. They have like the Song Dynasty still around. There's a lot of cool things that they do with that whole concept. The perfect moment for being at school. Ashley Graves needs to find God. The things I've heard about that show or that game. I don't know, man. No supply hub. It's probably one of the funniest jokes I've ever heard. I just wish I could laugh more. I'm really not doing okay, you guys. I don't want you guys to get worried for me. I wish I had a better idea of what was going on in my future. sometimes you just... I don't know. I just realized that this might not be copyrighted. I mean, this could be copyrighted, so now we're back to this. Dark harmony in most communities. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not so stick up butt that I'm gonna like criticize people for consuming media which is controversial. Like, I'm an alternate history YouTuber who made a timeline about Germany winning World War II. It'd be incredibly hypocritical of me. Like, don't get me wrong, I did not really enjoy doing the research about that whole scenario I made, but strangest ideologies advocates for the creations of mega state and mega society and ultranationalists. Yeah. That sounds about right for fashionista stuff. I could be wrong. Isn't that something they're doing in Caesar Reich now? Like, Russia is just a big Eurasian state? I'm looking this up. I'm in the server now, so I can... Yeah, look at this. Hold on. Let me finish this first. Yeah, I left the Caesar Reich developers do whatever they want. And then they... Wait, okay, copy image. There. Huh? There you go. Hi. National Mysticist Eurasian Revolutionary Republic with Tukhachevsky. Yeah, like, this is real. Interesting. One thing I will say about Caesar Reich, I wish them all the best. It seems like they're doing a lot of hard work, especially if they're going to be seriously releasing a teaser every day of December. And like Pascal and that team seems to be doing pretty well. Seems to me there's a lot of right-wing stuff. Like, I'm pretty sure, could be very wrong, Germany's the only actually just democratic country there. Yeah, hold on. What do I think about this? I think it's actually a really unique way to use the framework of national mysticism to not make it only Italy. I don't know enough about these people that are running the state, but it makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm actually pretty impressed that they managed to come up with something like this. Supported Greece in the Turkish war. That would actually be a very bad move. It'd be a very bad move if they did something like that. The Turkish were one of the... Like, the Turkish Revolution, the Turkish War of Independence, was pretty big deal for the Soviets. If they supported Greece, they'd be giving Western capitalist forces access to the Straits. And even though Kemal Ataturk was not a communist, the Soviets still deemed him worthy of praise as an anti-imperialist, because if the Turkish had submitted to the terms of the Treaty of Sèvres, they would barely cease to exist as a state. Doesn't mean I advocate for anything that the Turks did before, during, or after. However, I will say that from what I understand about the Soviet politics and foreign relations, they wanted Turkey to remain neutral so the Straits would remain neutral. But if they actually supported a imperialist, nationalist, whatever form of anti-democratic thing you want to call Greece, because you can there's several different words for how awesome communism is in communist language. All those phrases you want to throw at them, it just makes a lot more sense to have a Turkey that's neutral, that is at least sympathetic to you. Like, that's totally what I would do if that was them. It's practically the USSR and Project Elba, but with paganism. What's Project Elba? Yeah, could you elaborate? Do you mean bourbon or what? Or wait, you mean Elba, red Elba? You mean red German October? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I suppose so. It's a little bigger, but hey. Okay, so and then I need to make a bunch of boring assets about actual China history, don't I? But I could probably crank those out really quickly on my own. I need to record a lot of stuff. It's 11:50. Oh, God. Okay. I think I'm going to stop it here for now. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in for a second broadcast. Sorry that the first one ended so soon. I really just had to take care of my kid, so... It's German October still, but don't worry about it. The thumbnail said Red Elb. And it joined NATO. Well, Greece would have joined NATO too. Right? Like... And... in the long term, maybe. But like if I was playing a game of EU4 as the USSR, the same geopolitical position, yeah, I would support Byzantium defeating the Ottomans so that I can take the Ottomans and like vassalize them and then destroy the Greeks. Like I could do that, but like Red Nigeria super scenario. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of things I want to make, but I'm worried about viewership on a lot of things. So anyway, I do need to get going, everyone. So thank you very much for tuning in. I hope to have this episode out by Friday, but there's a lot of stuff going on in my real life right now. I can't even begin to explain. Not that I should, but I hope all of you had a great weekend. It's okay. I'm just not in a very coherent mood. Yes, there's a possibility, but I won't reveal which nations actually do that until they happen. Right.